Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome from the area of Frankfurt here in the southern part. It's quite nice because the sun is shining, open fields. I'm here to take some couple example shots of animals together with the brand new Canon RF 70 to 200mm f2.8 lens. And I will be comparing this lens with the latest EF version, the 70 to 200mm f2.8 Mark III. And just before I forget it, this video is sponsored by Objektivvermietung.de. So if you're ever in Germany and you maybe forgot a lens at home and you need a fast aperture lens or a camera for your vacation here in Germany, make sure to check out their website. And you get the camera or the lens or the drone, whatever you need, within 48 hours sent to you, and then you just ship it back. Boys and girls, usually when I compare two lenses, I try to report as neutral as possible to give both lenses a chance. In this case, I picked my favorite already because Canon did something so great, which I can't hide from you anymore. Quick unboxing before we start. Both lenses come in a Canon box with a small case and a lens hood. Let's start to compare both bodies with each other. You will notice one big advantage of the RF version straight away. It's super compact and weighs a lot less than the EF version. If you plan to use the EF version on a mirrorless camera like the EOS R5, R6, EOS R or RP, keep in mind that there are some inches added to your camera setup since you need to use an adapter. While the RF version can stand up in your camera bag, make sure to join a local gym to be able to lift the EF version with its weight of 1,480 grams and only 1,070 grams lifting the RF version. Keep in mind that you require the adapter for the EF version on a mirrorless camera, which adds some weight on top. Be aware that you cannot use the RF version on a DSLR like the 5D Mark IV or the 1DX Mark III. I like the fact that Canon uses the same filter for all their 70 to 200mm 2.8 series. If you need to get an ND filter, make sure to look for one with a 77mm thread. The tripod mount is included once you purchase any of these lenses. It can be rotated 360 degrees. Focusing was really precise once you do that in manual mode. Each lens has its own focus and zoom ring, but in addition to that, the RF version has an extra ring which can be programmed to change the shutter speed, aperture and ISO. This can easily be done through the camera's menu in the orange section. Once you switched into manual focusing, you will notice that there is a distance scale on the camera display using the RF version, while there is none using the F version. That's a pretty cool feature which I did not realize so far while comparing an EF lens with an RF lens. And it's an awesome feature for filmmakers. There are plenty of switches at the side, one for the image stabilizer, one to switch from autofocus to manual focus, and one for the distances. By the way, both lenses are protected against dust and splash. Make sure to scroll to the bottom of the video description. I provide you with a download link with lots of sample images to compare them at home. I was looking for chromatic aberrations and I only noticed a few magenta and green looking stitches using the EF version in Adobe Lightroom. Nothing which should bother you if you make use of the automatic correction in your favorite RAW converter, like Photoshop or Lightroom. While we point out some of the weak areas, let's continue with the dark edges, so-called vignetting. Sure, while taking pictures at f2.8 you will definitely spot some dark corners. If you stop down to about f4 or 5.6, these dark corners will slightly disappear. If someone's really annoyed by that, make sure to smack the automatic correction button in Adobe Lightroom and this issue will be solved within 1 second. Lots of sample images are in the video description below. A perfect summer weather in Frankfurt to have a look at flaring. Pointing the EF version straight into the sun will give you this kind of look. While this looks a bit better using the RF version, I had the lens hood attached to both lenses while recording these scenes. Did you ever thought, why should I get the 2.8 version instead of the much cheaper f4 version? Well, here are two scenes which were filmed using an aperture of f4 and 2.8. I used the exact same settings, except that I changed the aperture. Maybe there will be an RF f4 version in the near future. There's a very detailed comparison between the EF 70-200 f4 Mark III and the EF 70-200 f2.8 Mark II version on my channel. Make sure to check that out if you're still unsure after watching this video. Make sure to have a look inside the Google Drive folder to compare these files at home. They are all available in RAW CO3. If you're ever in Frankfurt, make sure to check out this place, so-called Gerbermühle, at the Main River. A cool place for a drink, relax and to enjoy lunch or dinner. Let's be clear, both lenses are extremely sharp. Canon released the EF 70-200mm Mark III version just before the RF version was announced. And they pulled out a lot compared to the EF 70-200 2.8 Mark II version. If you plan to use a DSLR for the next couple of years, you are not making any mistake by getting the EF 2.8 Mark III version. Shooting wide open, the corners tend to be soft using both lenses. However, the center is perfectly sharp. My personal opinion is that the RF version is sharper than the EF version at any aperture. No matter if you take your photos at 2.8 or f32. So make sure to review these files at home.
I heard you say it. We're falling like stars.
Thank God both lenses are equipped with an optical image stabilizer. This feature allows you to use a longer shutter speed while taking photos during hours of darkness or to stabilize your footage while filming. I filmed these scenes at 200mm in 4K with that nasty Canon 1.78 crop factor, which is the reason why I plan to replace my EOS R with the new EOS R5. In my opinion, the RF version has a better image stabilizer. Well, this could also be due to the extra amount of weight, since I had to use the EF to RF adapter, which puts extra weight onto your camera setup and makes it more front heavy.
But if you really knew, were you gonna tell me? Were you gonna tell me? Were you gonna tell me? You thought I knew. Were you gonna tell me? Were you gonna tell me? Were you gonna tell me? You thought I knew.
Anyone out there who is using a 5D Mark IV or a Canon EOS 1DX Mark III will never say that the EF 70-200mm f2.8 version has a slow autofocus. Well, it's just not as fast as the RF version. You will probably not notice that while you use any of these lenses for photography. When you do notice that, is while you start filming. I switched on the servo IF on my Canon EOS R and I used several types of focus fields. When I took these series of shots, the RF version had about 1 to 2 photos more in frame than the EF version. If you primarily want to use any of these lenses for filming, you do benefit from the lower close-up limit of the RF version, which we will speak about in a few moments. While the EF version kept pumping on a few scenes, the RF version finds its focus straight away. Both versions are great for motorsport photographers. Why do you need a 70 to 200mm lens? I make use of this lens for weddings, sports, portraits, spotting airplanes, animal photography, and for filming my YouTube reviews. I wish that Canon would give me the option to decide whether I want to make use of a crop footage or not on my full frame camera. Let's speak about another occasion where a 70 to 200mm will fulfill its job. Therefore I went to Café Under Pressure in the heart of Frankfurt South to take some cool photos and videos behind the scenes. Again, the RF version was the better performer in this case. Not because it's just sharper or weighs less, no, because I could make use of the lower close-up limit of just 70 centimeters. Unfortunately, Canon did not adjust this on their new EF version, which starts focusing at 1.2 meters. The lens hood of the RF version has a small shaft to adjust the strength of your pole or ND filter. This feature is reserved to the RF version only. I see lots of press photographers using a 70 to 200mm lens, no matter of which brand. The less weight you need to carry with you, the longer you can fulfill your job. These scenes were taken on a market in Offenbach near Frankfurt. Since it's so much fun to use a 70 to 200mm focal length, we continue with some portraits. Thanks to Julia for your support being my model on this day. I bet you will not notice any difference in image quality while taking portraits with any of these two lenses. However, you will notice the difference in weight. Remember that you need to use the adapter if you plan on buying the EF version for your mirrorless camera. While you don't need any adapter using the RF version on your Canon EOS R5 for example. You're carrying less weight with you anyway since you're using a mirrorless camera instead of a DSLR. Keep in mind the different focusing distances for any kind of detail shots. I wanted to visit the zoo in Frankfurt, but I did not want to wait for 7 days to get a ticket due to the current restrictions. So I took these few scenes at the Main River in 4K with this nasty Canon crop factor. Make sure to download these scenes in 4K to convince yourself. I already made my decision to get the RF version for myself in the near future. I will also replace my Canon EOS R since I'm fed up having a full frame camera with a crop factor of 1.78 while filming in 4K. I would like to film in 4K using 120 frames per second so you can enjoy my reviews in a better quality. Both lenses are made for filmmakers. The differences are well known by now. As I already mentioned, the RF 70-200mm version starts to focus already at 70 centimeters. A huge advantage if you plan to use this lens for details. The EF version starts to focus at 1.2 meters. Wow, what a fantastic looking bokeh. It does not matter which version you use, you can blur out the background completely. Well, not 100% because the RF version allows you to step a bit closer to your subjects. At 200mm, standing closer to your subjects will make the background look even more blurred out than using the EF version standing further away. Let's summarize. What you did notice in this video was that my favorite is definitely the RF version. Smaller close-up limit, a super fast autofocus, less weight and a really compact format are the biggest advantages of this version. The EF version is priced at $1,900, which is $800 less than the RF version. So you can get almost the same performance, but the way is different. The clear advantage of the EF version is that you can use it on both camera systems, either on a DSLR or a mirrorless camera, while the RF version only works on Canon's new R models. My question to you guys now, which lens do you like more? Have you ever tested any of these two lenses, or do you use them both? Well, I'm really happy to read your comments, so as the other people out there who have not decided by now which lens to go for. All the accessories I used to make this video are listed in the video description below, so make sure to check them out as well. Thanks a lot to all of you, all the best from Frankfurt, Germany, tschüss und bis bald.